Well, the Eagles got a little bit of concerning news involving Jalen Carter. However, it sounds like the sickness going around the team isn't that serious. But how much is that impacting the Birds, and what's the latest on the Breadman's status? Of course, on the positive side, Philly can't quite believe what the critics are saying about Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. And it's added a little bit of extra motivation for QB1. So naturally, I'm here with the receipts, and let's talk about that. Plus, why history says this is really bad news for the Chiefs. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? So before we jump in, I just want to say thank you because the plaque showed up. I posted it on social media, but it's just crazy. Started the channel less than 2 years ago. The growth has been absolutely nuts, but I cannot thank you guys enough. Now, hopefully that piece of hardware is a good omen for the Eagles this weekend. And it is kind of funny that the Superdome was testing out the graphics while going ahead and declaring the Eagles as Super Bowl champions.
No, don't jinx it, don't jinx it!
Okay, sorry, I won't. Let's go in a different direction then, because Kansas City might have jinxed their Super Bowl, or at least made a very bold choice before it, after Mike Florio reported that the Chiefs and Pat Riley reached an agreement to market the term three-peat despite not even playing the game yet. However, several Eagles players downplayed that being extra motivation or bulletin board material when asked about it, with head coach Nick Sirianni even saying it's ultimately about us and what we do. And cool, that's fair, it makes sense. It's not like Philly sees that and go, oh, now we're going to try to win the Super Bowl. Yet at the same time, it feels maybe a bit presumptuous and, I don't know, a little bit disrespectful from KC to already prep like they got this thing in the bag.
That was a mistake.
I'm just saying, you tell me if I'm making too big of a deal out of this. But before you do that, let's just remember that Sirianni wears his emotion on his sleeve. And not only him, but you can't deny just how big of a win last year was in Kansas City based on the reaction after the win. Granted, I personally didn't like the fact that Philly treated it like their Super Bowl, yet I think the real ones know that this squad takes things to heart sometimes, and it's not like that's always a bad thing. What I will say is that regardless of where you fall on that one, there's definitely some extra motivation seeing analysts pick the Chiefs over the Eagles. For example, nearly the entire Get Up crew is taking the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. And to take that a step further, out of 28 national NFL analysts asked who would win the big game, only 7 said Philly has a shot, with most of the criticism being Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes just too much on the big stage while also not having much belief in Jalen Hurts. Which, by the way, even if the rest of the Eagles were not taking that as bulletin board material, Jalen Hurts is, and that's a problem for the Chiefs.
Do you secretly like that extra motivation when people are doubting you for extra fuel?
There's no secret.
Okay, the part that I love about this is that a lot of people say Jalen Hurts doesn't listen to the noise, he's not tuned into the media, but again, this is a reminder that he does see it and it means a ton to him. So, on that note, we're going to give away a Jalen Hurts signed jersey if this video can get to 4,000 likes. So again, do me a favor, hit the like button, I'll give it away on my next live stream. And I'm telling you, with as much as these national guys are hating on Jalen and giving the Birds zero chance, they're just adding fuel to the fire.
Jalen Hurts. Stop Saquon. Stop A.J. Brown. Stop. Defense going to do their thing. Let Jalen Hurts beat you. You ain't been balling.
When he has a very clear understanding, like, oh, you're playing my guys one-on-one, and I could throw the ball on an outbreaker or a corner route or a go route to A.J. Brown. It's kind of what Washington did in the NFC Championship game. He is not going to get that against the Kansas City Chiefs.
We are witnessing and watching the greatest dynasty ever. And I think we blind to the fact because they're making it look so easy and doing it in so many different ways.
Look, I think that you can too, appreciate the fact that the Chiefs are a good team. No one's going to sit here and say they're a bad team or mediocre or anything like that. But how many times are people going to forget or just disregard what QB1 did 2 years ago in Arizona? Yet no matter what kind of talent or previous history in the big game, the vast majority is siding with the AFC. And with similar takes as Brett Coleman, like, I don't care what the line is, it's KC all the way.
The Super Bowl.
Thank you.
I don't want to say, but there's a certain quarterback that seems to be a pretty good winner.
I haven't seen anybody run the ball on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, so I'm going to take the Chiefs.
That right there might be the most constant and consistent take I've heard all week, which don't worry, I'll get into that one in a second. It's just the X factor for the Eagles when you say they can't do something is then they prove you wrong.
You know why? You say I can't.
Before I get into why this is bad news for the Chiefs, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Factor Meals. Because I've mentioned them in the past, but right now there's not a better time to get signed up and start eating healthy meals in as little as 2 minutes to prep. I mean, I got started because of that exact reason. I just hardly have any time. But eating healthy is important, and with my goals to get in better shape this offseason, I started using Factor. Seriously, with their 2-minute meals, I'm able to fuel up fast with restaurant-quality meals that are ready to heat and eat whenever I am. And they've made a huge difference when it comes to eating healthy while also not having to take all day figuring out what's on the menu. Now, I'll be honest, my biggest hesitation was wondering whether or not these meals would taste like they're worth it. But I gotta say, they're fresh, never frozen, and after doing the math, Factor's less expensive than takeout. Plus, every meal is dietitian approved and it tastes great. However, the other added benefit is that they offer dessert options like ice cream, breakfast options, and even have routine smoothies. Or if you're big into juices, we just tried out their signature juice pack and I would highly recommend. By the way, my favorite was the carrot orange ginger option, but they're all great. So get some time back and save money while starting to eat healthy. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code 50PhillySpecial to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. Again, that's code 50PhillySpecial at factor75.com to get up to 50% off your first box and free shipping. Okay, so back to the reason that this is a big mistake to doubt this Philly team. Well, let's start with a game against the Green Bay Packers, and we got this hot take from Rex Ryan.
The only way they're going to win is that quarterback run game, because they're not good enough to just sit back and beat you and with Jalen Hurts from the pocket and things like that. They're not.
I love this. Aren't receipts just the best? FYI, in that Packers game, QB1 went 10 for 12 for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns in the pocket, so Rex Ryan was dead wrong.
Did that go the way you thought it was going to go? Nope.
Honestly, the same could be said for Jared Verse, who, remember, the rookie Rams pass rusher said prior to the divisional round that he hated Eagles fans and found them particularly annoying, which led to all kinds of retaliation from the fans before the game. Now, give the rookie some credit because he played his part well, registering 2 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. However, for those people saying the fellas don't care about bulletin board material, well, it definitely made its way to Jalen Carter, who exchanged words with Verse in the pregame and ultimately saved the game with 2 game-wrecker plays late. Oh yeah, the best part was probably afterward when Lane Johnson stuck up for the fans with the ultimate troll saying, "Best Verse, EAGLES, Eagles with the best fans in the world." I mean, I could respect Jared's game, but come on, he did not make anything easier for his teammates. Although it's one thing for a player to do it and another thing for a coach to do it. Yet that's exactly what Washington defensive coordinator Joe Witt did prior to the NFC Championship game.
I love playing. I love playing on the road. And I love playing here too, but there's not a better feeling, and Detroit had a great crowd, but to walk out of that place and it's quiet. That's the best feeling in the world, to go into somebody else's house and it's quiet. So if it's at home, if it's on the road, it doesn't matter. We're going to get down the way we get down.
Saquon, touchdown. Barkley, touchdown. Hurts gets a shove. Hurts in. Hurts to throw. Near side, lets her rip. Brown, delay. Hurts in. Touchdown. They're going to go, and Hurts is in. Barkley outside. Barkley touchdown.
Here in Philly with what they've seen.
Is in.
Boy, did they get down. And you could say that I'm crazy by building this thing up and make it more than it is, but the facts of the matter are that Philly hears this outside noise and plays better because of it. So again, feel free to save this video or keep it handy for all the receipts after the big game.
What I can tell you is what Saquon Barkley has done to everyone, that will not happen against the Chiefs.
Let me ask you a question. How many times have we heard that take game after game after game every single time in the playoffs? And look, I'm not going to get into all the specific numbers because I did that in a previous video, but there's definitely an opportunity for Saquon to wreak havoc against KC's run D. Yes, even with the Chiefs not having allowed a 100-yard rusher in their last 18 playoff games. Because even though they limited Christian McCaffrey in the last Super Bowl, any average NFL fan can tell you that the Eagles' offensive line is drastically better than what the Niners were dealing with. And honestly, that's the makeup of both sides of the ball, which is especially hard to beat in the Super Bowl. For real, shout out to Ruben Frank for the insights, but the Eagles have outrushed their 3 postseason opponents by 366 yards. For the record, that is the 4th largest margin by a team reaching the Super Bowl since 1942. And a little more positivity in that area, the 3 other teams to reach the big game with that kind of rushing margin won by at least 10 points in the Super Bowl. Also, in 4 years under Sirianni, when the Eagles outrushed their opponent by at least 50 yards, they're 29-4. Now sure, I know that we continue to hear, oh, but the Chiefs have shut down the Eagles in past meetings, especially the last Super Bowl. But like, come on, that was with Miles Sanders as the feature back, and this is Saquon Barkley, who, FYI, the Chiefs have never ever played against since he's been in the NFL. And let's be real, it's hard enough to prep for him when you've seen him a couple times, but something different altogether and having not gone up against him. Also, shout out to Dylan for the reminder here, but DeAndre Swift ran for 76 yards and a touchdown on 6.3 yards per carry the last time against KC. And no offense to Swift, but 26 is different and has some unfinished business.
Watch first down. If it's 2nd and 8, 2nd and 6, 2nd and long for Kansas City, they're right where they want to be. Right. If it's 2nd and short, it's going to be a long night.
2 words, Greeny. Unfinished business, specifically Saquon Barkley. I talked to him one-on-one on opening night Monday at the Superdome, and he told me during the year, listen, I want to rewrite my story, but it's not only about going to the Super Bowl, it's about winning the Super Bowl. And Nick Sirianni remembers all too well, Super Bowl 57, They didn't get the job done, fell short by 3 points, and he has stressed the fact that they've got to get it done this time and keep to their core values in this football game. Tough details together.
That is a given for what happens on first down. But how are you guys feeling this extra hate? Do you think that Philly leans into it a little bit? Do you think it's a difference maker and plays a factor? Let me know in the comments. Of course, even though the pundits and critics aren't confident in Philly, I do need to point out that Kansas City doesn't quite understand that notion when it comes to Jalen Hurts.
This quarterback, I remember coming out of the last game we played him in the Super Bowl, I was thoroughly impressed with the way he threw it, with the way he operated. It seemed like he made every play he needed to make in that game. And, you know, our offense got the ball at the end, and Patrick did what he did. But I was really impressed with what they did last time.
I can appreciate that, and yes, I do think that the offense is going to find those areas to exploit. Jalen will be the X factor, and sure, Saquon Barkley is also going to get his. Although the other Jalen on the other side of the ball in Jalen Carter isn't as much of a certainty, after the Breadman missed Wednesday's media session due to an illness. Now look, whenever I first heard that, I wasn't concerned, figured, well, he's just missing out on the media speculation, the circus there, don't be there, don't show up, that's fine. And the report was that he did at least get a limited practice session in the last couple days. Yet the more alarming part of this is that John Clark shared that Vic Fangio told him JC has an illness that's going around to some of the other members of the team and that he hopes he'll be good for the Super Bowl.
It's over. We are screwed.
Okay, it's not that bad, but still, I mean, it's JC, the bread man. We know what he does with the team, and for him to be even questionable to play in the game, it's a little bit concerning. He's going to play, but it's just like how many snaps can he get in? Remember, this dude plays like 90% of the snaps, so to me, it's not can he be productive, it's how many snaps can he get out there and be productive with. Again, everyone knows just how much of a game wrecker the Rhino can be. Heck, he leads all defensive tackles with 12 quarterback pressures this postseason. Now sure, the optimistic side is that there's solid backups in Milton Williams, Moro Ajomo, and Thomas Booker to spell JC, but it's never the same thing as having that dude out there. By the way, Nolan Smith said he had the sickness last weekend but is now over it, so let's just hope and pray that the fellas can get healthy and or stay healthy ahead of the big game. Granted, having said that, this is why it's important not to just freak out and run with the first bit of news. Because John Clark came back to say that Fangio wanted to share another message with him that what he meant was that he expects Jalen Carter to be 100% by Sunday.
Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. You have no idea the physical toll.
Yeah, it feels like we've been on an emotional roller coaster the past 24 hours. Plus, it turns out that according to Lane Johnson, he told the Inquirer that it's actually 4 to 5 players that are dealing with those illnesses, with team officials wearing masks and Quinyon Mitchell being diagnosed with laryngitis. However, as bad as that sounds, here's the hope based on the recent news. Check out the official injury report from the Eagles. First off, Jalen Carter was a full go at practice. And I'm sorry, but if he was legit sick, then he'd be DNP or at the very least limited. And then when it comes to the other guys who have a bit of something going around, the positive is that there's not a single dude listed with an illness outside of Jalen Carter. So again, let's take a deep breath. We're going to be all right. There's nothing to worry about. Oh, for those wondering about Brandon Graham, BG got in another limited practice, but the key point to note is that Nick Gates was listed with an injury. And with BG saying he'll for sure play in the game and it'll be his last ride with Philly, it's definitely worth keeping an eye on, like Anthony DeBona mentioned, because the Eagles could just put Gates on the IR and free up a spot for BG. Again, not that Philly needed any extra motivation, but come on, we got to send 55 outright. Also, I'm not wishing any kind of injury or sickness on anyone, but Lane Johnson said the Eagles got this sickness prior to getting to New Orleans, whereas now Chiefs punter Matt Ariza just randomly popped up with an illness. So it may be nothing, I'm just saying it's something to monitor if it begins to spread across the other guys in the locker room on their side, at least with a couple more days before the game. As always, do me a favor, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, because if we get any breaking news, we're praying that we don't, obviously, for anyone being out. But if we do, I'll make sure to go live, keep you guys posted. Until next time, this has been The Philly Special.